When your children stop respecting you, do this: 6 ways to regain respect. There comes a moment in life when you realize something has shifted. You've spent years, decades raising your children, sacrificing for them, putting their needs before your own. But now, they brush off your advice, they dismiss your opinions, they act like you're no longer someone to be taken seriously. Maybe they ignore your calls, maybe they talk down to you, maybe they make you feel like a burden, and it stings. Take Linda. She wasn't just a mother, she was the backbone of her family. A retired nurse who spent years balancing hospital shifts with late-night homework help, packed lunches, and scraped knees. She gave everything. But now, in her late 60s, her son barely calls. Her daughter cuts conversations short, and when she speaks, they barely acknowledge her words. The woman who once held everything together is now treated like an afterthought. If this feels familiar, you're not alone. For some parents, the loss of respect happens gradually, little things here and there until one day you wake up and realize you're being overlooked. For others, it happens in an instant. A harsh word, a disagreement, a shift in family dynamics that leaves you on the outside looking in. And the instinct? To remind them, to list every sacrifice you made, every moment you put them first. But here's the truth. Demanding respect doesn't work. Begging for it makes things worse. So, what do? You shift your approach. You stop chasing their approval. You stop giving away your power. You stop waiting for them to change. And instead, you change the way they see you. Because respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you command. Today, I'm going to show you 6 powerful shifts, simple but transformative actions that will change how your children treat you. No fighting, no resentment, no wasted energy on arguments that go nowhere. Just real, effective ways to reclaim your place as a respected, valued figure in their lives. Some of these might surprise you, but if you stay with me until the end, you'll see exactly how to turn things around. Have you ever felt like your own children don't listen to you anymore? Like your words don't carry the same weight? You're not imagining it, and you're definitely not alone. But here's the good news. You have more power than you think. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to turn things around. And if you're here and ready to take back your respect, comment "Ready" below. 6 effective ways to regain respect from your children. 1. Stop chasing their approval. Take back your power. One of the biggest mistakes parents make, especially as they grow older, is trying too hard to please their children. You say yes when you want to say no. You rearrange your schedule to accommodate them. You bite your tongue when they dismiss you, thinking that if you just do enough, if you just keep the peace, they'll appreciate you more. But here's the cold, hard truth. The more you chase their approval, the less they respect you. Take John, a retired firefighter who spent his entire life putting others first. In his younger years, he was strong, confident, a leader both at work and at home. But as he got older, he started giving his children the reins to his life, always adjusting, always deferring, always staying quiet. He thought he was keeping the family close, making things easier for everyone. Instead, his children stopped valuing his time, stopped asking for his opinion, stopped treating him with the respect he once commanded. He became someone they expected to accommodate them, not someone they admired. And this is what happens when you make yourself too available, too agreeable, too eager to please. Respect isn't earned through sacrifice, it's earned through self-respect. When you constantly put your own needs second, you're teaching them that your feelings, your time, your voice don't matter. And once they start believing that, they start taking you for granted. So what's the solution? Stop chasing. Stop bending. Stop waiting for them to validate you. Set boundaries. Speak your mind, even when it's uncomfortable. Say no when it's necessary. Show them, through your actions, not your words, that your needs, your time, your respect for yourself come first. When John finally made that shift, everything changed. He stopped being the father who always adjusted and became the man who knew his worth. He no longer allowed his children to talk over him or dismiss his thoughts. And at first, they resisted, they pushed back. But over time, something shifted. They saw him differently, not as someone desperate for approval, but as someone who demanded respect without ever having to ask for it. That's the key. When you stop acting like you need their approval, something incredible happens. They start giving it to you naturally. Because nothing commands respect more than a person who respects themselves first. 2. Don't argue, lead by example. When your children dismiss your opinions, talk over you, or treat you with disrespect, your first instinct might be to argue, to remind them of everything you've done, to fight for the respect you deserve. But let me tell you something that will save you years of frustration. Arguing never works. Think about it. When was the last time you convinced someone to respect you by demanding it? Respect isn't won through words. It's earned through presence, through the way you carry yourself, through the way you respond when others try to test you. If you meet their disrespect with anger, all you're doing is proving that they have power over you. Take Michael, a retired military veteran. For years, he led soldiers with confidence, discipline, and strength. But at home, his grown children had started treating him like an afterthought. They dismissed his advice, interrupted him mid-sentence, and even laughed when he tried to correct them. At first, he fought back, raising his voice, reminding them who he was, trying to force them to listen. But the more he argued, the worse it got. Then one day, he made a change. Instead of demanding respect, he embodied it. He spoke calmly. He didn't raise his voice. When they interrupted, he didn't argue. He simply stopped talking and let the silence speak for itself. He carried himself with the quiet strength of a man who didn't need to prove his worth, because he already knew it. And something surprising happened. His children started noticing. They saw a man who was unfazed by their dismissiveness, who didn't beg for their attention, who commanded respect simply by the way he carried himself. Over time, their behavior shifted, not because he forced them to change, but because they felt his presence in a way words could never achieve. If your children don't respect you, don't fight them for it. Show them what respect looks like. Keep your dignity, speak with confidence, and most importantly, never lower yourself to their level. Because when you hold your ground with grace and certainty, they will feel it. And in time, they will follow your lead. 3. Withdraw emotional dependence. Reclaim your strength. One of the hardest lessons to learn as you grow older is this. You cannot depend on your children for emotional fulfillment. You love them deeply. You've given them everything. And in return, you hope they will be there for you, calling often, visiting regularly, making you feel needed. But when they don't, when their lives get busy and you find yourself waiting by the phone, it stings. It feels like rejection, like they don't care. Take Eleanor, a retired school principal. She spent years shaping young minds, leading with confidence, raising 2 children with unwavering dedication. But now, in her early 70s, she found herself alone more often than not. Her son rarely called. Her daughter was always too busy. So Eleanor did what many parents do. She reached out first. Again and again. She left messages, sent texts, reminded them how much she missed them. She thought if she just kept trying, they would eventually make more time for her. But instead of bringing them closer, it pushed them away. Her calls became an obligation. Her messages went unanswered. And the more she chased their attention, the less they gave it. Then one day, Eleanor made a decision. She stopped waiting. She stopped calling first. Instead, she turned her focus inward. She joined a local gardening club, started painting again, and even took a solo trip to the coast, something she had always dreamed of, and something incredible happened. Her son called, just to check in. Her daughter, curious about her new adventures, made plans to visit. Without the weight of expectation, their relationship shifted. They no longer saw her as someone waiting for their time, but as someone living fully on her own terms. And with that, respect was restored. Here's the truth. People, even your own children, respect those who are emotionally independent. The moment they sense you need their attention to feel valued, the power in the relationship shifts. But when you stand strong on your own, when you create a life that is fulfilling without them, they start to see you differently, not as someone desperate for connection, but as someone they want to be around. So stop chasing, stop waiting, live. Because when you do, they will come to you, not out of obligation, but out of genuine respect. If what I'm saying is hitting home, don't just sit back. Let me know. Drop a respect in the comments if you're done feeling overlooked and ready to reclaim your place. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on the bell icon, because I promise, this is the kind of advice you don't want to miss. 4. Set boundaries and enforce them. Teach them how to treat you. Respect isn't just given, it's required. And one of the biggest reasons children lose respect for their parents is because the parents let them. If you allow them to interrupt you, dismiss your opinions, or treat you as if your time and feelings don't matter, they will keep doing it. Not because they are bad people, but because people will always treat you the way you allow them to. Take Robert, a retired engineer. In his professional life, he commanded respect. His colleagues valued his input. His decisions carried weight. But at home, it was a different story. His adult children cut him off mid-sentence, dismissed his concerns, and made decisions for him without asking. At first, he tolerated it. He told himself it wasn't worth the fight. But over time, he realized something. Every time he stayed silent, he was teaching them that their behavior was acceptable. So one day, Robert changed his approach. When his son interrupted him, he didn't get angry. He didn't argue. He simply said, "I'll continue when you're ready to listen." When his daughter dismissed his opinion, he responded calmly, "You don't have to agree with me, but I expect you to respect what I have to say." And when they kept pushing the limits, he set a firm rule. If they couldn't treat him with basic respect, he wouldn't be spending time with them. At first, they resisted. They pushed back. But over time, something shifted. They started listening. They realized that their father wasn't backing down. He valued himself enough to demand respect. And because of that, they started giving it to him. Here's the truth. If your children don't respect you, ask yourself, are you allowing it? Because if you don't set boundaries, they won't set them for you. If you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. So stop tolerating disrespect. Speak up, lay down clear expectations, and most importantly, enforce them. Not with anger, not with ultimatums, but with quiet, unwavering strength. Because when you show them that you respect yourself, they will have no choice but to do the same. 5. Stop giving. Without appreciation, make them value you. One of the fastest ways to lose respect is to keep giving to people who don't appreciate it. And as parents, we do this more than we realize. We give our time, our energy, our support, even when it's not acknowledged, even when it's taken for granted. We tell ourselves, that's what parents do. But here's the harsh truth. When you keep giving to someone who doesn't appreciate it, you don't build love. You don't build respect. You build expectation. Take George, a retired construction worker. He spent his life working hard to provide for his family, and even in his 70s, he still put his children first. When they needed money, he gave it. When they needed help, he dropped everything. He even put off his own retirement dreams just to be available for them. But did they appreciate it? Number. They expected it. They took without thanking. And the worst part? When he finally needed their help, they were too busy. Then one day, George made a decision. He stopped overextending himself. He stopped offering help before it was even asked. And most importantly, he started saying no when he needed to. At first, his children were frustrated. They didn't understand why he wasn't bending over backward for them anymore. But over time, something changed. They started valuing his time. They started appreciating his efforts. Because suddenly they realized his generosity wasn't unlimited. It was a gift, not a guarantee. If you feel like your children don't respect your time, your effort, or your kindness, step back and ask yourself, am I giving more than I should? Because if you are, it's time to stop. Not out of spite, not to punish them, but to teach them that your generosity must be earned. When you give less, they appreciate more. When you stop bending over backward, they start stepping forward. And when you teach them that your kindness is conditional on respect, they will start treating it that way. Because the moment you stop giving without appreciation, you stop being taken for granted. And that is when real respect begins. 6. Build a life outside of them. Take back your independence. One of the most powerful ways to regain your children's respect is to show them that your happiness does not revolve around them. As parents, it's natural to devote your life to your children, to make them the center of your world. But here's the hard truth. If you spend all your time waiting for their attention, relying on them for your sense of purpose, they will start seeing you as someone who has nothing else going on. And that's when respect begins to fade. Take Margaret, a retired librarian. After her husband passed, she poured everything into her children's lives. She called them daily, gave them advice they didn't ask for, and rearranged her schedule just to be available whenever they needed her. But instead of drawing them closer, it pushed them away. Her calls went unanswered. Her invitations were ignored. She felt lonelier than ever. Then one day, she made a choice. She stopped waiting. She joined a local book club, started taking yoga classes, and even signed up for a painting workshop. Instead of trying to insert herself into her children's lives, she started building a life of her own. And something incredible happened. Her son called, just to see how she was doing. Her daughter invited her to lunch. They were suddenly curious about her world. They admired her independence. They respected her. Because here's the truth. People, even your own children, respect those who have their own purpose, their own joy, their own fulfillment. If your life revolves entirely around them, they may feel suffocated. Or worse, they may see you as someone with no identity beyond being their parent. So stop waiting by the phone. Stop making them the center of your world. Start living, travel, learn something new, connect with people who inspire you. Because when you show them that you are thriving, not just existing, they will see you in a completely different light. And that's when respect is no longer something you have to ask for, it's something they naturally give you. Respect is not demanded, it's inspired. Take back your power. Respect is never something you beg for. It's not given out of obligation. It's something you command. Not through words, not through demands, but through the way you carry yourself, the way you set boundaries, and the way you choose to live your life. If your children have started treating you with less care, if they dismiss your words, ignore your presence, or take your sacrifices for granted, don't waste your energy pleading for their attention. Shift your focus. Shift your power. Stop chasing their approval, because the less you seek it, the more they will give it. Lead by example, because dignity, confidence, and composure speak louder than any argument. Withdraw your emotional dependence, because the moment you stop needing them to validate you, the moment you prove to yourself that you are whole on your own, is the moment they start looking at you differently. Set boundaries, not to push them away, but to teach them how to treat you. If you allow disrespect, it will continue. If you let them walk over you, they will. People, even your own children, will only treat you as well as you require them to. And if they have been taking your kindness for granted, stop giving without appreciation. Make them understand that your generosity is a privilege, not an expectation. But the most important thing you can do? Build a life that is bigger than them. Because when you create joy, when you invest in your own passions, when you become someone who is thriving, not just existing, your children will start seeing you with new eyes. They will see someone to admire, someone to respect, someone they want to be around. This is not about cutting them off. It's not about shutting them out. It's about reclaiming your worth, about proving, first to yourself and then to them, that you are strong, independent, and deserving of respect. You've spent your life raising them, guiding them, giving them the tools to succeed. Now teach them something even greater. Teach them how to respect you, not through anger, not through guilt, but through the quiet, unwavering strength of someone who knows exactly who they are. You don't need to fight for respect. You don't need to demand it. You just need to become someone they cannot help but respect. If you've made it this far, it means one thing. You are serious about changing the way your children see you. Now let's make it happen. Comment 111 below so I know you're with me, and if this video helped you, hit that subscribe button. This is just the beginning. Stay strong, stand tall, and I'll see you in the next video.